Alright, y'all. This is the final part of Top 10 Strongest Bladers in Beyblade Metal 5 Beyblade Metal Fury. Now I did Metal Fusion, I've did Metal Masters, this is Metal Fury. Alright, so we already talked about this. We said that we rank based on seasons because we cannot compare different eras, right? What I mean by different eras, this is like an analogy to chess. We cannot compare like the best players from different eras in chess, right? We cannot make an objective like assessment of who's the strongest, from different eras. It's subjective because different players, right? Different players, different tools, different times. So like we can't really say. So it's subjective when we compare between eras. But anyways, let's get into it. Top 10 strongest bladers in Beyblade Metal Fury. A lot of people tend to place their bias, like to show their bias, to show their lack of understanding, They go by preference, they go by what they perceive as cool. They don't go by evidence, they don't go by reason. I'm here to rank solely based on what I think is reasonable. Solely to be only use speculation when needed, because sometimes like the show doesn't give you insufficient information. So it's not a problem with being analytical. It's a problem with the show not giving you sufficient like information to rank. It doesn't give. That's why like it becomes subjective more and more. Due to lack of evidence. Because the first few are usually a given. But Anyways, so let's get into it, right? No more talking. Okay, number one. Number one would be Jenga. No, why? Why would it be Jenga? Pretty straightforward, right? Jenga was the only one. I mean, the whole world was dependent on Jenga. Like the battle between Nemesis and Jenga by the very end was decided. Like it was like the fate of the world was dependent on that battle. Was dependent on Jenga winning, right? Jenga was able to take the power of the whole world and defeat Nemesis. The fact that it was able to take all that power, even more than Nemesis, the power of every blader in the world. Nemesis took the power. It took the power like of all the legendary bladers, plus all the bladers they ever fought. Whereas Jenga took the power of every single blader. Which is crazy, right? This is why he's number one. I mean, the fact that he was able to do that is astonishing. This is why I think he's number one. Not only that, but when they attacked Master Nemesis, right, by the very end, every legendary blader was defeated by one attack, by few one to two attacks. Their base were completely shattered, except for Jenga. His base was still standing. This suggests that he is stronger even by individual strength, right? I mean, the fact that he was able to stand up when everyone else collapsed, the fact that he was able to take all the power, to hold the power of all the bladers in the world without his base destroying itself or falling under the control of that power, is itself very astonishing. And was able to defeat Nemesis by the very end, who completely destroyed the strongest legendary bladers with nothing against him by the very end when Nemesis showed its true strength. The fact that he was able to defeat it, he was very, very, very close. He saved the world from destruction, right? Is enough of a reason to place him as number one. No one else, I don't think anyone could handle the power that he has. Not even Nemesis could hold the power that Pegasus did. Ryuga would probably got taken over, just like in Beyblade Metal Fusion. When he got taken over, it installs too much power. I don't think his big can handle that much power. Even Nemesis told him. He told him that someone like you cannot hope to control this much energy, so he can't really control that much energy. Kinta even warned him of falling under the control of that power when he tried to steal Nemesis' power, just like he did in Metal Fusion. And that power was far more above the power that he stole, He probably, since he was able to overcome the dark power, I don't think he would have fallen for taking such a slight power. Because he did take the power of Chris, right? That's why I don't think, he stole some of Chris' powers. That's why I don't think. I don't think he's gonna be taken over if he stole a bit, a certain. But if if he were to take all that power at once, his bit wouldn't be able to handle it. It's guaranteed. You know. Even Rago said this to him. The show communicates that he isn't able to do that. The fact that he was taken over when he took too much power in Metal Fusion, all of this, even though he might be overcame that, I mean, the amount of power that Nemesis has was far beyond what he stole in Metal Fusion. We cannot really compare. So, anyway, so number one is Jinga, number two is Rago, obviously, because he came very close to Jinga. No one could stop him, No one could stop it. The only one who was able to defeat him individually was Jinga, right? The world was scrambling, in front of him. Everyone collapsed in front of him. Only Jinga was left standing. I mean, the fact that Rago was able to take all that much power, the fact that he destroyed everyone. The only one who was able to defeat him was Jinga. That shows that he is number two, of course, obviously, right? Okay, number three. Number three would be Ryuga. Why? He was able to stand his ground against Rago on a 1v1, which is a very, very good feat. It's a great feat. Other legendary blades couldn't do that. The only one who could do that besides Ryuga were Kenta after he took Ryuga's power, and Jinga. No one else could. I mean, Ryuga did it individually with his own strength, which is far more impressive. This shows that Ryuga is very strong, perhaps the second strongest after Rago, given individual strength. Why? Because Rago, Rago was easily overpowered. I mean, I would make the case that even given individual strength, Ryuga is number two, not number one. Why? Because Rago was able to overpower Chris, Dynamis, and Aguma when Nemesis was a baby, right? A prototype Nemesis. Before it stole any power, it easily overpowered them. Something that I would argue even Ryuga would struggle to do. I mean, these are some of the strongest, there are some strong legendary bladers, right? I mean, Ryuga struggled to defeat King, so do you think he wouldn't struggle with these three combined? If he even manages to win? I mean, prototype Nemesis easily overpowered them, so even given individual strength, Nemesis is still stronger than Ryuga. It's El Draco. This is just the show communicating. This is basic reasoning, Anyway, so number three would be Ryuga. No one could match him. He battled Kiyoya, at the beginning. The difference was huge, but we can't really compare because Kiyoya didn't master his Bei yet by that point, whereas Ryuga did. But the difference was way too big, So there is no evidence to suggest that Kiyoya surpassed Ryuga afterwards. I mean, the feats of Ryuga were really unmatched, He was shown through the series to be above Kiyoya, at all times, so we can't really say that he surpassed Ryuga. Kiyoya wasn't able to hold his ground against Rago. Ryuga did, so this is enough to show that Ryuga is stronger than Kiyoya, based on their battles, based on their feats, based on their rank, this is enough. Anyway, so number three would be Ryuga, of course. He was also labeled as the strongest legendary blader by Pluto, right? And Jinga also said that he is his strongest rival, which means that he is even stronger than Kiyoya according to Jinga, which is obvious throughout the series. So he is number three. Number four would be Kiyoya. Why? He was one of Jinga's greatest rivals. He was shown to be close by the beginning. He was even at about Jinga's level, right? At the beginning of the season, right? So this is from one, he was one of the 4-season legendary bladers. If you notice the pattern, Jinga, Ryuga, Kiyoya, right? So they are among the strongest. So Not only because of that, but also because he defeated every single legendary blader by the very end. Because he said before he battled Jinga by the before the very final scene, he said that you are the only one left. He challenged after Nemesis, after Jinga defeated Nemesis, he challenged every legendary blader. He said, "I'm going to defeat every legendary blader." He confirmed that by the end. He said that he defeated every single one of them, and Jinga is the only one left. This suggests that he defeated all of them. Therefore, it's only reasonable to assume that he is number 4. Number 5 would be Kenta. Why? Now, Kenta, before taking Ryuga's power, he lost to Tsubasa, right? Tsubasa is not a legendary blader. He is below legendary blader level. So, I'm talking about Kenta by the very end, when he took Ryuga's power. No, why he is not stronger than Ryuga, even though he has Ryuga's power and he has his own power? I mean, that's logic, right? Why he isn't stronger? He held his ground against Rago, right? No one else could do it except Jinga and Ryuga. So, why we are saying that he is? Why we are saying that he is number 5? Right? Because that's even though he held his ground against Rago, right? The only one to do it besides Jinga and Ryuga, which is enough to place him at number 5. He became too strong when he got Ryuga's power. Everyone was astonished at his power. But the fact that Kiyoya was able to defeat him, right? At the very end, because of the implied thing, right? That suggests that the only explanation of that, that suggests that the only explanation, in my opinion, is that he couldn't, even though he got Ryuga's power, he couldn't use it fully. That's the only explanation that I see, because there is no way that he was already very strong, right? Before taking Ryuga's power, because he was able to put up a great fight against Ryuga by the very end, right? He even scratched El Drago. No one else could do that, besides Rago completely destroying El Drago. So not only because of that, but also because of the fact that, as I said, he lost to Kiyoya because of the implied thing at the end. So it suggests that he couldn't use his El Drago's full power, right? So that's why he's number 5. He was able to hold his ground against Rago. He put up a very great fight against Kiyoya, against Ryuga, sorry. Before him handing it to his power that he even scratched. No one was able to do it except Rago, who completely shattered El Drago. What else? I'm forgetting, man, what point I'm trying to make. Yeah, so as I said, he's number 5 because of that. He held his ground against Rago. Only Jinga and Ryuga were able to do it. There is no way that there is nothing suggesting that Kiyoya surpassed Ryuga by the end of the series. And the difference between them, there was difference, throughout the series. Ryuga was stronger. There is nothing suggesting that, that Kiyoya surpassed him. The only explanation would be that Kenta, couldn't use his full power, because there is no way that Kenta was already very strong. We put up a great fight against Ryuga. That his power plus the power of Ryuga was superior than Kiyoya. He's still given the power of Ryuga and Kenta's own power, that he will still lose to Kiyoya. That doesn't make sense to me. There is no way. Unless, as I said, he cannot use Ryuga's full power. I don't think Kiyoya would have surpassed him. There is no way. Nothing suggests that he could have surpassed Ryuga by the very end. So I think that Kenta is number 5, right? Number 6 would be Chris. Now this is getting harder to rank, but the reason why Chris is number 6 is because he put up a very great fight against Jinga. Jinga was using his full strength and he struggled to beat him. By the end, right? Not only because of that, but Chris was able to handle King reliably, without Super Saiyan King, Angry King. And he wasn't even using his full strength, he was able to handle him. And he was also one of the 4-season legendary bladers, which, if you notice the pattern, they are among the strongest, right? Jinga, Ryuga, Kiyoya, Chris. So it only makes sense based on this, and the fact that he has a good record. He only lost to Jing as a legendary blader, right? And he proved to be above King's level. And the fact that he is one of the 4 seasons as a legendary blader, as I said. I mean, based on these things, it only makes sense that it only makes sense to conclude that Chris, like, since he lost to Rago and Jinga alone, as I said, all of these things combined, think about them clearly. I think it only makes sense to conclude that he is number 6. Number 7 would be King. Why? Because he appeared to be very strong, right? That's undeniable. Not only because of that, because this is not a good reason. The reason is because he put up a very good fight, very close fight against Ryuga. No one was able to do that, right? Besides Kenta, right? And Jinga, he put up a great fight, even though he didn't master Pegasus by the beginning of the series, right? So what else? I don't think anyone else. Kiyoya didn't master, we can't really say Kiyoya because he didn't master his Bay. I mean, Jinga, even though he didn't master, he still put up like a better fight than Kiyoya, yeah, but, that's debatable, right? They both lost still, but anyway, so, because King, that was like at a later episode, right? He put up a great fight against a great fight against Ryuga, right? A very great fight against Ryuga. I don't think anyone in the above after him in the list can come close to what he did against Ryuga. There is nothing suggesting that he could do that. So that's why, I would put King at number 7. Number 8 would be Tithi. The reason why I put King, in ranking before Tithi is because King proved himself. He battled multiple, he defeated Masumoni. He put up a very good fight against, he was matching Jinga. He put up a very good fight against Ryuga. But whereas with Tithi, he didn't prove himself. Tithi did not prove himself. He didn't. So it's more about proving yourself. When there is no direct evidence, it's more about we go to other criteria proving yourself. King proved his strength against Ryuga, whereas Tithi refused to battle Kiyoya. He was scared of him. He didn't prove his potential. If he battled Kiyoya, we would have seen his potential. Yeah, but they both defeated Aguma, right? Reliably. Not reliably because they didn't battle a lot of times, but without much difficulty, right? So I would say that the reason why Tithi is number 8, he didn't prove himself. He refused to battle. He was scared to battle Kiyoya. I don't think he would have put in a great fight against, as much as a great fight against Ryuga as King did, because King is fearless, he is battling everybody, Maybe the fear would have gotten to Tithi, so that's why I say that I don't think so, I don't think he's stronger than King, based on what they have shown, based on their feats. Okay, so number 8 would be Tithi, right? He only lost to Rago, as I didn't say that, but he only lost to Rago, right? He defeated Aguma, without much difficulty. The difference was big. So he's number 8. I think it's only fair to assume that he's number 8. Number 9 would be Dynamis. Why Dynamis is weaker? Because, as you see between the clash between Kiyoya and Tithi, right? Though they didn't battle, Tithi appeared to withstand Kiyoya's attack. He appeared to be very strong, Whereas between Dynamis and Kiyoya, when they battled by the very end, the difference was kind of huge, right? So Kiyoya didn't win with much difficulty. That's why I'm saying that that Tithi by the very end is stronger. He's stronger than Dynamis. Number 9 would be Dynamis, because as I said, that I don't know, he's one of the less legendary bladers, so I think would make the top 10. Why he's stronger than than the rest? Because Now we have to use reason from previous series because there is no direct evidence by the very end, by the previous episode, sorry, because there is no direct evidence by the very end. The reason why Dynamis is number 9 is because, if you watch the battle between Jinga and Dynamis, right? By the time Jinga defeated Dynamis, that was slightly after Kiyoya defeated Aguma. So why do I think Dynamis is above Aguma? Is because Jinga couldn't win against Dynamis by that time. I mean, they didn't finish their battle, but Jinga couldn't win. I would argue that Jinga was at about Kiyoya's level because, they appeared to be at about an even level, right? So it's only fair to assume maybe Jinga was slightly stronger, but there is no evidence to suggest that he was any stronger, right? So I would say that, right? So they were at about an even level. Like Jinga couldn't win, right? So Kiyoya was able to defeat Aguma, slightly before that. They're at about the same level, so I think that Jinga at that time was stronger than Aguma. He couldn't defeat Dynamis. Now we have to go by speculation that the power difference between Dynamis and Aguma remained the same throughout the series. There is no evidence to suggest that, but that's the only thing that the speculation that we can make at the most reasonable because, we have no evidence to suggest that, there have no battles between the Dynamis and Aguma by the very end. But we have this, this period of the series through which we can make a reasonable speculation. That's why I think if they're made at the same power scale, then Dynamis is number 9. Number 10 will obviously be Aguma because he dominated Yuki, he defeated him in the team battle. Aguma and Bao versus Jinga and Yuki. They won. They didn't struggle much, right? They battled afterwards. Aguma was dominating Yuki until TT took over and battled Aguma. So Aguma was shown to be stronger than Yuki throughout the season. So I would say that Aguma is number 10. He lost multiple times. He lost to Kiyoya, he lost to Titi, he lost to King, but still, he is number 10, by the very end, I think. Due to that reason. And the weakest would be Yuki, of course, because he's the weakest legendary bladers. Even though the legendary bladers are the strongest bladers, he is still the weakest. He didn't prove he couldn't beat anyone, he didn't prove himself against anyone, so it's only reasonable. If we go further, it will be way subjective, so we'll focus on the top 10. So this is it. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I give my reasons to why, I placed particular bladers in a particular spot. I think this is the most reasonable, power scaling, the most reasonable, ranking. That's it, man. Thanks for watching. Peace.